This is Richard, findebookreaders.com, and I have today the new Sony e-reader. It's the PRS-T1. And first of all, just for comparison's sake, I'll set it alongside a couple of other models so that you can get an idea of the relative size. Okay, on the right, this is the last generation Sony, in this case the PRS-650, the Sony Touch. And this is the new Kindle, the $79 Kindle 4 on the left. First of all, with the Kindle 4, they're very close in size and weight, thickness, everything. The new Sony's slightly narrower and about a little bit less than a half an inch taller, but pretty similar. And compared to the last generation Sony, the main difference is that it's much lighter because the Sony Touch used an aluminum casing, whereas the new Sony is all plastic except for a metal plate right here between the buttons and the screen. So it's much lighter. The case might not be as durable, but in fact the screen is the most fragile part anyway, so I don't think it makes much difference. The back has a matte black non-slip surface. On the bottom you have your power switch, an earphone plug. This will play MP3s. And you have a USB port here and a reset hole. On the side there is a micro SD card slot. It's got a little cover over it. And you use the USB for charging. There is an optional AC adapter that you can buy, but the unit only comes with the USB cable for charging from your desktop. And the screensaver you just saw was showing my most recently read book, which happened to be the user guide. This is the home page. There are two screens, there are two pages to the home screen actually. And below the screen we have a row of buttons here. There are two page turning buttons, which I don't find myself using very often because it's more comfortable for me to use the touch screen, to swipe on the touch screen. You have a home screen button here, back button, and a menu button. And the first page of the home screen shows your most recent book on the top, which is the user guide for me. Then these are the three most recently added books to your library. And at the bottom we have 4 buttons that you tap. You use the touch screen to tap them. First one lists all your books. Okay, they're kind of on a bookshelf there. You can also do a list if you prefer that. You can sort them. You can sort by dates, by the title, by the author, by the file name, or by the latest read. So you have quite a few tools for for sorting them. And there's a search button over here too. The library lets you create and delete collections so that you can sort your books into collections for better organizing. There's a button here for your collections. There's another button here for periodicals, and there's a button to connect to the reader store. Then the second page of the home screen has buttons for connecting to the public library, for Google Books, and this is actually the selection of public domain Google Books that are available at the Sony bookstore. It's not all of Google Books. It's only their free titles. Then there's a web browser, purchase content, which would be your library at the Sony bookstore. Down here you have all your notes. You can also access notes from within a book, but this particular button lists in one place all of your annotations from across all of your books and periodicals. Okay, there's a dictionary. You can access the dictionary from here. There's actually a number of default dictionaries included. The Oxford English, Oxford American, and then there's a number of translation dictionaries. And within a book, you can change the default dictionary without closing the book and coming back here. But this is another button that you can open the dictionary. Text memo, you can write notes using the virtual keypad. There's a handwriting button here. This is like just a handwritten note. You can you can make drawings, you can make notes, whatever you want. And Sony gives you this kind of cheap looking plastic stylus. There's no place on the e-reader really to clip it or for it to fit into the housing. If you get a cover, you could clip it onto that. Okay, you also have pictures. You can change the picture that's on the screensaver, and here's your audio player, and there are lots of settings. I'll just quickly scan through them. You have page turn preference. You can either swipe to left, or you can change it to swipe to right to advance the page. You have your menu languages. I've got it set to English, but you have a choice of French, German, Dutch, Spanish, and Italian. And keyboard preferences, which you have quite a few choices there too. No Chinese or Japanese, Korean, Cyrillic. It doesn't look like that's covered. You have your wireless settings. One kind of interesting or useful wireless setting, Wi-Fi setting, is you can have Wi-Fi standby, which turns the wireless connection off when you're not using it for 5 minutes, and that saves your battery. But then when you reconnect, it's going to take a little bit of time to reestablish the connection. So you're trading off a little bit of time for better battery life. Here's various settings. These are the dictionaries. There's 2 pages of dictionaries. Most of them are translation dictionaries. Okay, the browser has quite a few settings. You can also access the browser settings from within the browser itself. There's actually 3 pages of settings here, so it's quite a few. You can open a maximum of 3 windows with the browser. You have all kinds of things: clearing the cache, clearing cookies, clear your password data, all that kind of thing. Okay, you can change the download destination either to the internal memory or to the SD card, which is useful. You can also, there's also a setting here where you can reformat the memory of the SD card, or you can even format the internal memory of the e-reader. Okay, by the way, you can delete an ebook from the device itself. You really don't have to connect it to your computer unless you're downloading ebooks that you bought somewhere else other than the Sony Reader Store, or some content you have on your computer that you want to put onto it. You can connect to the public library by pushing this button here. And my library is County of Los Angeles here. And it's very easy, you can get into a queue for a book you want, or if it's available, then you can check it right out and download it directly to the e-reader. You don't have to mess around with connecting it to your computer and transferring it using overdrive software or anything. It's using the browser for this, and the browser is actually pretty good. Now, you do have pinch to zoom, and normally in the browser it works, but it doesn't really work in this particular application of the browser. But you can see the browser is pretty fast. You can use pinch to zoom here. You can change to landscape. Double tapping it sizes it to the page, or sorry, to the screen size. I've been noticing the screen of the new Sony e-reader seems a little bit contrastier than the Kindle, and under this light that I'm working with here, the screen seems very similar, but under some light you notice that the Sony seems to have a little bit less gray in the background, and the font just seems to be a bit sharper. And you can see here this illustration. It's quite sharp. Under some lighting, the Sony background almost seems like fine eggshell china or something. I mean, it looks really nice. You can use a pinch to zoom here too to enlarge an illustration or a graphic, which is very useful. I know I've wished for that on some of my other e-readers before. Okay, a lot of the current e-readers now are using a kind of intermittent screen refresh. So they'll completely refresh the screen after every, usually after every 6th page turn. Sony doesn't do that. It completely refreshes the screen every page turn, so you're getting that flash to black every time. Personally, the flash to black doesn't bother me that much, but I guess it does bother some people. It would be nice if Sony added an option to change that. Okay, let me get a regular book to one nice thing, if you follow a hyperlink, it gives you these little icons at the bottom here to go back to your previous page, so you're not gonna get lost having to find where you were before. Okay, we have I think there's 8 different font sizes. The largest one is actually, in this particular book, the largest one's not that large. Other books, it depends on the material, but some books have been almost as large as the largest Kindle font size, which usually has the largest. Okay, this is the largest Kindle font size. In another book that another document I was reading on the Sony, and I don't remember what it was now, so I'm not going to be able to go back and find it, but the largest font size was almost as large as that of the Kindle. So it depends on what you're reading. Besides changing the font size, you've got let's see, 7 or 8 different font styles to choose from. If you're not using the original font, then your handwritten notes don't display those. So if you make a lot of handwritten notes, you'll want to use the original font. Okay, some other things you can do from the menu button here is navigate page. You have a slider here to quickly go to different locations in the book. You can go to the table of contents. You can go to previous view, which is that's going to take me back to the page I was just on. And then I have these icons again here in case I want to go back. It's stepping me back, I guess, each one. Okay, now I'm at the farthest page that I just scanned to. So that's actually pretty robust. A lot of e-readers don't really provide adequate means for you to step back to where you were previously. So you can also enter a page number to go to that particular page. Okay, you have some other selections here. Customize view. You have page mode, which you can display 2 or 3 column split, and you can also change the orientation. You can fit to the screen in landscape mode here. That's useful for PDFs. Gives you some zoom level there a little bit. There's another button here for orientation to put it back into portrait. Handwriting. Here you can make handwritten notes. There's a couple more settings under the customized view here. You can crop the page in case the book has really large margins. You have several variations of that. And adjust view. This changes the contrast level and things, which will it's going to be useful if you're reading a scanned document. Sometimes it can change the background and everything and make it a bit more readable. Okay, if you want to look up a word, you tap and hold it. Okay, the definition is on the bottom here, and there's buttons here to add a highlight, to add a note, to search for the word in the book, or to go to Wikipedia or to Google. And for example, if you add a note, you can choose to either do it by keyboard or by handwriting. Let me open a PDF here. Okay, it's in landscape mode at the moment. You can use pinch to zoom. And you can pan around. I have to say that on the whole, I'm very happy with Sony's new e-reader. It's very lightweight, comfortable to hold, easy to use in one hand. The touchscreen works really well. I like the buttons that Sony's using. It's a more graphical interface, and it's very convenient to use. If I have any complaints about the PRS-T1, well, one thing is this black model, the bezel's very shiny and it attracts dust. It's a real dust magnet. It's really distracting. This may be less of an issue with the white model. I think it comes in white, red, and black. Silver would probably be better, but there doesn't seem to be a silver this time around. I wish that Sony had used a matte material for the bezel, but anyway. Besides that, price-wise, it's still more expensive than the competing e-readers, even though Sony has got the price down quite a bit. And the Sony store, I have to say, even though I have an account there, and I do buy some of my ebooks there, it's not my favorite store. And even though I really like this e-reader, if you buy it, you're going to be limited in the content. You won't have access to either the Kindle store or the Barnes & Noble ebook store, which in the US at least are the biggest ebook providers. So if you're in another country, then maybe that's not going to be as much of an issue, but aside from those factors, I really like this e-reader. It's very pleasurable to read on, and I have no problems recommending it, provided you're happy with the content and you don't mind paying the slightly higher price.